All right, everybody, how's it going? I am joined this evening by Kaui and we have some important things to discuss this evening. My name is Evan Rhodes, and I'm going to be doing these YouTube broadcasts alongside Kaui at times, sometimes solo, sometimes with others. But tonight is the first actual one. I did one actually just prior to this, Kaui. I just did one. Like I uploaded it, and we're going to discuss it as part of the topic of the evening, which is aloha. What do you think? What do you think about aloha, Kaui?
Aloha. Wow, so much. Aloha to me is definitely like a lifestyle. It's really like everything. It's like you live it, you breathe it, you perpetuate it in everything that you are and do. I think that it's funny because one of the first things that you learn as a child is aloha kekahi, which is like you treat one how you'd like to be treated, basically. And I think as we grow up, we end up learning like at least where I am now. I've done that so much to where it's kind of like loving me back to loving me. So love, affection, compassion. And then it's funny because when you look it up, you also see pity under aloha, and you kind of wonder, like, pity, really? Like,
that's interesting. I never thought of aloha as being pitiful.
Right.
More powerful.
Right. When I saw that, I kind of was like, interesting.
Maybe what they're trying to say is like to show humility. You know, to be humble. Is that another form of humility? I don't know. I don't know.
You know, well, it's funny because when you break up aloha, alo is like front or face, right? And then ha means a lot of things, but what most people know it as is like breath or life, you know. So it's pretty cool. It also means like four, like the number 4 or 4. So like that, I think of like when fishermen used to go out back in the day, they used to go fishing and they used to like bring back like loads of fish. They used to give it away in 4s to like people on the beach, and then whoever is on a part of the crew, and then they like split it all up to whoever. So it was cool because I always thought about that for paddling, right? That was always a thing.
Why they did the 4th. Yeah, you know, when I think about that too, like when I was a kid, I used to go work as like a garut, you know, like the little kid that carries the tanks and stuff like that for my sister's boyfriends who were all commercial fishermen. And yeah, they would give me a fish, but they would, when they gave the fish away to friends or whatever, if we had a big haul, it would be in 4s. And I never understood that either. So yeah, that's interesting. I never knew that. But to be like to give aloha, it's kind of like it's to like you're giving it away in 4s. But like the face, breath, life. What else does mean?
Is like of like
so of life,
of like whoever is like your parent, of like your ancestors, basically, who came before you.
Interesting, right? That's so because like everybody says that Hawaii is the aloha state, right? And that like the tourist industry it is much different here than it is if I were to go travel to like Punta Cana or Dominican Republic or
even to California,
Disney World. Like Hawaii has a very special vibe to it. It really does. And for anybody that hasn't been here before, it's hard to explain it. It has a different vibe The land has a different smell. You know, it smells fresh. It smells light, clean. And they say like, you know, one of the things that makes Hawaii such a tourist attraction is that we have the Aloha Spirit. So in the hotel industry, we're taught, back when I worked in the hotel or service industries in general, right? Like have aloha, show, you know, have the Aloha Spirit. It's what makes us special. It's like when you go jump on a Hawaiian Airlines flight, it feels different on a Hawaiian Airlines flight than it does
in
any.
airline.
Yeah. And so it's an intangible thing. So that being said, I gotta just share this. Today, my aloha was tested, and it kind of like shook it to the foundations of what it means to be free, what it means to be see, for me, I was born and raised in Hawaii, so I consider myself a native of the islands, but also an American, you know? So I've always had this kind of conflict because Hawaii is like its own country. It really is.
Right.
It really is, actually.
Right.
Still. It's really its own nation still. But we're part of the United States, and that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother night. But
Right.
right? But tonight, as an American in Hawaii, I almost got arrested, man. I almost got arrested for something that was so, like what they would call over here, manini, so insignificant, that it was just like, you got to be kidding me. So
That's
we
crazy.
We have this stay-at-home order. Like you're in California now, right? So I heard things are opening up there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Especially in Orange County. Like in LA, it's not as open, but here in Orange County, it's open a lot more. But I heard you guys, the lockdown is like stay-at-home order is
Yeah.
supposedly a thing.
So, I mean, the stay-at-home order it's a new 2-week stay-at-home order. So they just reenacted it. Like, I think it might be almost over actually. But yeah, so I mean, initially when the pandemic was coming out and there was like 3 months of stay-at-home quarantine, right? It was enforced and people were not outside. Like you didn't see many cars driving around, but now it's like back to normal. I mean, people are gathering in groups. You see people fishing. You see people paddling, riding bike together, running together. I mean, I could look right down here at my outside right now and turn my camera around, and you'll see people walking around and running and doing all kinds of stuff. So it's like, it's very loose. At least I thought it was loose until today. So I just got this camera back here, right over here where my thumb is. I just got this camera because I wanted to start doing some YouTube stuff with a little lens that I have on it. So I never really had it outside of the house. So the sun was going down. I went down to like 5 minutes away. There's a boat launch from my house. And you know where it is, Kaui. You know, you're very familiar.
Yeah.
And that boat launch is like one of the busiest boat launches probably in the state of Hawaii. And today the weather was beautiful. So there was tons of fishermen coming in. And the wash rack area is just lined up with people. And you don't go fishing alone. You know, there's boats with like 6 guys on that thing, like full crews, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then they're all talking story, drinking beers or whatever along the boat launch wash area, the boat wash area. Then you have like canoe paddlers and like everybody's training and they're loading and cruising at their cars afterwards and talking. So there's groups of people all over the place. And hey, I have nothing against fishermen or paddlers. Like I do both. I used to do both. And probably like, so what I learned was that if you're paddling or if you're fishing or doing anything in the ocean, the stay-at-home order does not apply to you. That's what I learned tonight. So I went down to the boat launch. I got my camera out and I was literally there for like a minute, maybe 2 minutes, maybe. And enough time to park, open my tailgate, get my camera out. And I took like 3 pictures. And a police officer came up and he said, "Hey, sir, what are you doing?" And so I said, "Oh, I'm just testing out my brand new camera. I just got this camera." And he like right away started like it was like he was waiting for me. And if you watch my video that I published earlier before this, I reenact this, you'll see it. But it's like when like when you're talking to somebody and then they're like, "Oh, gotcha."
Right.
It's like that. So it's like, "Oh, gotcha." And then he like he gets out of his car with his ticket book. Like I wasn't sure what he was doing. So he got out of his car. I see his ticket book and I'm like, "You're gonna give me a ticket?" And he goes, "Yeah, there's a stay-at-home order in effect." And so I look around and I'm like, "What about all these people over here?" And he's like, "Oh, well, because they're in the ocean, like the stay-at-home order doesn't apply." So I said, "Okay, you know what then?" I took my shirt off and I'm like, "I'm gonna jump in the ocean." And he goes, "Not before you give me your license." And I go, "No." And he goes, "Then I'm gonna arrest you." And I was like, "You fucking kidding me, right? This bullshit, brother. This is bullshit." Like that's exactly what I told him because I was like, "What?" So anyway, that's how it started. What's your take on that so far, Kaui? I mean, I don't get pissed off normally, man. I mean, I'm an old guy already. You know what I mean? I don't normally like I was pissed.
I think the younger me would have probably got arrested. I think that, like, I could see if you were in a group hanging around, you know, especially not being in social distancing, but you're literally like by yourself, no one around. There's like loads of people further down. I don't know. That's just like very new, very new.
Very new. Exactly. Like
Very new.
so growing up here, I never experienced anything like that before. And I mean, this isn't the South either. You know what I mean?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I'm sure people like in the South that were discriminated against and stuff like that had shit way, way worse. But this ain't the South, and Hawaii is so like ethnic. I mean, there's mixed
Really.
everybody literally everybody is mixed over here.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of like discrimination as far as I'm concerned. There might
Oh
be
yeah.
people joking around, but everybody's mixed. So it's like, okay,
Like you from Hawaii, literally, I feel like with Hawaii, if someone is like in a fight and you find out that it's like people from Hawaii and then people that's not from Hawaii, the people from Hawaii are just gonna stick with no matter what you are, like they're like gonna stick with you and make sure that you're okay.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what color, doesn't matter what ethnic background, what religion, whatever. If you're with that person from Hawaii, everybody is same. Yeah. So I never experienced anything like this before. Like growing up, it was like the police officers were just different. And I know a lot of police officers. So I'll continue. So when I was saying that this is bullshit to the cop or the police officer, that way, I want to be respectful, okay? Because I don't think that this police officer is a bad guy. I believe that he's doing what he was told to do. And I was just upset because it was like, what? Like, it was just shocking to me that I'll be getting a ticket for like literally doing nothing wrong, as far as I'm concerned, except being outside in a stay-at-home order when there's literally hundreds of people around me and I'm getting a ticket, but they're not because they were in the ocean. It's just odd to me. So this high-ranking guy came up. I think he was like a major because he had like these clusters, gold clusters on his shoulder. And he said, "Sir, it's obvious you're upset." And I said, I think this is bullshit. Like, I don't think this is right to like, to be like giving me a ticket. Like, so to make a long story short, he said, I'm just doing my job. And I said, I get it. I totally get it. Like, I was private service. I worked for the city for a long time. As a medic, I and Kaui, you know this. I'm just, you heard this already. But like, I get it. I get orders. So then he said something that was so surprising to me. And he said that he's a paramilitary force. And I'm like, you're not a paramilitary force. You're the police. Like, when I think of paramilitary force, I think of like Mexico, like corrupt cops, like cops that are like enforcing some dictatorship or something, the paramilitary rounding up the Jews in Germany, you know what I mean? Like, just because they're told. So I was like, you're not paramilitary. Like, you're with the community. You're with us. Like, you protect us. And so he's like, well, you're entitled to your opinion, sir. And I was like, fuck, how's it? I didn't even know what to say to that guy. So they wrote my ticket. I drove away. I'm sure they were expecting me to kind of blow up at the end, but I just put my stuff away, jumped in my car, and drove super slow, like just idling out of there the whole way. And I drove right past all the canoe paddlers, all the boat washing guys. In retrospect now, I should have videotaped it on my camera and been like, you guys, check this out. If you're in the water, you can do whatever you like. But if you're in your car, sitting by yourself, in a parking lot at the park, at the boat launch here in Hawaii, you're gonna get a ticket. Trippy, yeah?
That's nuts.
So anyway, I'm not crying about it. I just wanna, it's more like a warning. And it's kind of like, as far as Aloha goes, I think Hawaii is not what it used to be, which is kind of sad.
Do you think that that's part of the reason why everyone is leaving or ends up like moving away?
I think that Oahu is different from the other islands because Oahu is so much, there's so many more people for one, right? There's 1 million people on Oahu. And, like there's, I don't know, 1.3 million people in the whole, in the whole state. So I think Oahu is different. I just came back from the Big Island and I can almost guarantee you that you wouldn't get a ticket on the Big Island for sitting by yourself in your car at the park. I just don't think it would happen.
Yeah, I think you're.
So I don't think it's all of Hawaii. I mean, Hawaii is expensive, but like we were saying earlier, there's no place like it. Like,
It's true. It's so true.
Yeah. So I should have had like Kyle and some other guys that are like, Hawaiians could come on and like try get on with us, yeah, to see what they think. Because what if this was, okay, so let me ask you this, Kaui. What if you considered yourself still as a member of the Queen's monarchy and you didn't recognize yourself as being a United States citizen anymore? And you told the cop, no, you can't arrest me. Why? Because I'm not a US citizen. I'm part of our Queen's monarchy.
I think I would win.
Right? I wonder how that would go down. I wonder.
Yeah. I think that for that particular reason, I think that they would have enforced like with force. I think it would have really pissed them off, especially the guy that said we are a pre-militant whatever, like
Paramilitary.
yeah. I think that he would have gotten offended and I think that he would have used force or had, yeah. Especially because I'm a woman.
Hmm.
And I'd be so confident in it that it probably would piss him off.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot
And
of
it's
Hawaiians
funny.
out there that would do it.
Oh yeah, and it's funny because everyone that would do it would be coming exactly from Aloha, and to where people would get offended, it's exactly where they stand. Like they truly believe that they are above Aloha and above other people, you know. I really do believe that, yeah, man, Aloha is really a lifestyle. I think that people that do not know of it, or who maybe are afraid of Aloha, or of people that are confident, like Hawaiians specifically. Because, you know, there's a lot of people that, like, don't believe, I guess, or like don't recognize Hawaiians or Hawaii as being its own nation, its sovereign nation, you know. And they're Hawaiian, you know, but to what they
Wait, wait, wait,
believe,
wait, wait,
that
wait,
is
wait.
what they
Try
believe.
to back up. So you're saying that there are Hawaiians out there that don't believe that there is a monarchy.
Yes, yes. Maybe
That's
or
interesting.
don't acknowledge it. Like don't acknowledge it being possible. Like they just see it as, we Hawaii is America now, and we have to go by American ways, and like there is, like, yeah, like America is the way now.
I can see that after all these years. So when was the overthrow? That was what,
Oh,
18? I'm not sure when.
1819.
1890. I was going to say 1890, but
18
1819.
1893. 1893, sorry.
1893.
Yeah.
Okay, so it really hasn't been that long,
Yeah, it really hasn't.
right? So what year was it that President Clinton publicly apologized to the Hawaiian nation?
1993.
Oh, so it was 100 years. So he did it on the 100th year.
1993.
I think, it's been 100, what is that, 130 years,
Yes.
right?
100. Yeah.
That's
There.
nothing when you think about it, right? That's a
Oh yeah.
blip. So 130 years and the statehood was what, 1955 or 53? Before that, it
I,
was a territory,
yes.
right?
Yes.
So really, we've only been a state for like 80 years.
Yeah.
Right. So before that, we're a territory, and
Yes.
right, and then it was like sugar plantations, pineapple, the Dole
Pineapple.
cannery, like all the big money, big fruit companies, right? Sugar plantations came in and started bringing in workers to work the land that wasn't even theirs. I guess maybe
Right.
it was maybe a lot of it was gifted to them, maybe through missionaries or whatever, right? I don't know,
Right.
something like that. But they came in, started working the land, and the Hawaiian. So my uncle used to live on the Big Island in Waipio Valley, and they used to grow stuff in there. And he told me when my mom died, we had lunch, and he told me that I didn't want to go work for. And he's old. He's like, I didn't want to go work for Dole. Like, why would I go work for anybody when I have everything I need over here in my land?
Mm.
Like, I was rich already. I didn't need money. I had everything I needed. I had all the fish I needed. I had all the taro I could eat. Like, we were self-sufficient.
Yeah.
So that's why like they were called like lazy Hawaiians. You guys don't want to come work and stuff like that. But it's like they had everything they needed already,
Yeah.
right? And then the
And
overthrow.
it's a good thing that they kept that too.
Yep, yep. So then the overthrow and we got up to Aloha, right? It's amazing that Hawaiians still have Aloha for anybody, actually, you know. Yeah, I just come out and say it. Because the only, I mean, in my opinion, my humble naivete, it's like really the peoples, the indigenous peoples are the only ones that had anything to really freaking bitch about. The Native Americans, the Hawaiians. But at least the Native Americans have big swaths of land.
Right.
The Hawaiians, there's no like, I guess there's homestead, but I mean, you gotta wait like 50
You
years to
know,
get one.
well, between that and also I feel like this is with Native Americans too, is that like when given land, it's literally like the worst land of the land that they have.
Yeah, that's
Like
true. So,
like the freaking land underneath it is tumbling already.
right, it's all rocks,
All rocks, exactly.
right, or
No even
sand,
real soil.
right,
Right.
sand. So, like the best, so you look at all the best land. Where's all the best land located? Who's on the best land? Military bases,
Military bases hard.
right? I mean, look at it, Kaneohe Bay.
I trip out that they have that. Like, and I never knew that you couldn't take the sand off of that.
Oh, interesting, yeah. So Kaneohe Bay, you have Schofield, Wheeler.
Yeah.
You have Pearl Harbor, which is like a jewel. That's why everybody wanted this place, was for that harbor, right?
Yeah.
Natural harbor. There's nothing like it in the world like that. Um, and then what else is there? Wheeler? No, Wheeler. I said that. There's Barber's Point.
Barbara's Point.
Yep. But I mean, at the same time, are you grateful for the protection from America?
You know, I guess that it always comes down to that because people would always like. There's always the debate of if it wasn't America, then who would it have been? And
Yeah,
people always say Japan.
could be.
You know.
Could be British, could be Japanese, could be, I mean, if it was the
Right.
English.
However, however, we did have treaties back then.
That's
Like
true.
that was one thing. That was one thing. Like Hawaii was acknowledged, especially to the Europeans, that we were our own nation. You know, it wasn't until America thought that. You
Yeah,
know.
that would be a really interesting topic to have with somebody that is actually super like knowledgeable in like like the whole history and what actually happened, you know?
Yeah.
Like how America, because if you follow the money, it'll take you there.
Oh yeah.
And who was near the queen at the time, how did they get so close? Which
Well, you know,
Hawaiians.
it didn't start. It started with Kalakaua, with the whole bayonet constitution. That was where he lost a lot of it, most of it.
What was that? I remember reading about it, but I don't remember what it is.
So it's basically a constitution that gave them the power to his cabinet to like vote on who would get lands and who would get the money, basically to have more control and like to make more money, profit, basically taking or buying lands off of Hawaiians that were poor.
So
Because
was that part of like the Great Mahele or the Great Land Divide, the Great Land Division?
the Mahele was who? I
Because
think it was Kamehameha the third that
yeah,
had the Mahele. Yeah.
because there's still like the Hawaii, so in real estate, the deeds go back to the Great Mahele.
Yes.
It's crazy, you know, like it's that recent.
Yeah. It's crazy how it's still like seen, I guess. Like there's still proof of that.
It's very recent.
And people
Yeah.
don't realize that, you know. People don't realize that like there are actual lands that do go back that far.
Well,
They just
if they
like,
go to like the Bureau of Conveyances, they'll
Mm.
see that all land goes back that far,
right?
because that's when Kamehameha divided everything, you know, and he gave big portions away. So it would be interesting, like, why did he give big portions away to these foreigners? You know, for what reason that he would give it to them and not his people? You know what I mean? Like, what? Why? And then Kalakaua, like, was it Kalakaua that was starting to like say, like, let's do what the missionaries say, and like, let's not ban tula, let's not, you know what I mean, like, cover
No,
yourselves. And
Kalakaua was the one who brought it back.
oh, Kalakaua was okay.
Number 2, so Iolani, I
Was
think
it 2?
Iolani Liholiho, I think he was number 2.
Hmm.
He was, him and Queen Ka'ahumanu were the ones who like broke the kapu system by sitting down and eating together. Because back in the day, women
Yeah.
and men ate separately.
Yeah.
So it was her. She was the one who like broke it, and that's when they started like learning Christianity
Hmm.
and like, yeah, all of that kind of like became normal, I guess. Yeah.
The new normal.
The new normal. You know,
Hey.
like the new normal we got going on now.
With the mask, everybody got to wear the mask.
Man.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just kind of interesting, you know, going back to like all of that kind of stuff, and how, I mean, the Hawaiians were pure aloha when they were first visited, man.
Oh yeah.
You know,
For
of
sure.
course, yeah. And then it's just interesting how everybody, they were able to keep it, and the state is still known for it. But when you have people, so the thing that shook me up the most about today was not that I got a ticket. It was that they were saying that I don't have, like, I'm losing my liberties. You know what I mean? Like, I cannot go down to the beach at sunset because the government says that there's this order, but there's hundreds of people down there and only some are getting ticketed. And there must be something that has to do with the ocean, where if you're in the ocean, now it's like that, it must be a jurisdictional thing. You know, where if you're in the ocean, you're no longer with state, it's federal or something like that.
You know what, you could be right, because I mean, look, they can be out in the water and drink.
Yeah. But then once they come on land,
Then they're screwed.
right? But it's like, so
That
I can go surf. I can go to Sandy's. And by the way, hey, if there's any government officials that someday listen to this, Sandy Beach, you guys closed the parking lot over there. So now everybody has to park on a highway where people are blazing. And it's like they're going 45, 55, 65 miles an hour. And it's a hazard. It's like somebody's going to die. But I can go to Sandy Beach, park on the highway, walk across, go surf, body surf, do whatever, use the bathroom, take a shower, come back, sit at my car with a whole bunch of people because we went body surfing and no ticket. But if you're sitting in your car, just sitting there, you'll get a ticket. So that's what I mean. It wasn't so much about getting a ticket. It's like they could discriminate against who they give tickets to.
Right.
And that is an infringement on liberty, on, you know, being able to do things as a free American in the 50th state with the same Bill of Rights as everybody else, man. You know,
Already,
yeah, and yeah, so that was a trip. But anyway, you guys, if for anybody that sees this, it's really the first one that we've gone. So thank you so much, Kaui, for coming on.
yes, for sure.
You have been a calming force for me. I was pretty hot, man, earlier. I told Kaui, we got to get on early because we got to talk about this. But thank you so much for coming on, and hit like and subscribe. Fun. Yeah, fun, right? So we'll do it again. We'll do it again. And we'll get better and better at it as we go. So thank you so much. And
thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Hit subscribe and like if you can. Thanks. Aloha. Aloha.